us some words of encouragement and Josh and Locke some words of encouragement.
Hey, Lachlan.
Good evening, my dear brothers and sisters. Josh came and saw me a couple of days ago and said, "Would I do a short talk?" I thought that's asking a lot. But it's a bit like it says in 1 Samuel 13. There was no smith found throughout the land. So in this talk, I'm addressing Josh, but Locke, you can still listen. Okay. I was thinking something memorable. Most of us don't remember much of talks, lots of words, usually too many. And when we think about baptism, we often remember someone's toe was sticking up, or the tie fell in, or the water was too cold. My baptism, well, it was memorable. It was conducted by Brother Richard Mansfield, my beloved Uncle Vic, in Botany Bay in Sydney. And he didn't want to go out too far into the water because there were signs saying, "Warning! Sharks in Botany Bay." That was memorable. And as we came out of the waters, usually brothers and sisters would sing Anthem 19 or 166 in the current book, "The Lord bless and keep it." And it was raining, and they're all huddled under a few brollies. That was memorable. But for Josh, I was thinking, well, what can I say to him that he might remember? And something memorable, a catchphrase, very much like Jared had, a person to identify with. And I found him. A cool dude, a bit like Josh, thoughtful, a bit different to the crowd, a bit quiet in the shadows of others, and suddenly in a position of responsibility as Josh and Locke are now. What to do? How will others respond? How to keep on despite setbacks and hurts and fears and doubts? What advice was he given? But before I get to that example, let me just have a few thoughts about baptism. Firstly, this is not a Christadelphian graduation. This is for Josh and Locke, between you and God. It's a new partnership with God, and you always need to talk to Him. This new life requires discipline. That's why we call it discipleship. Faith is an exercise. It's not some magic thing. You have to keep remembering that time is short, that life is uncertain, that we are mortal, that God is real. And you might think, well, is it just an exercise? Is this just a psychological thing we Christians do? No. God is real. They used to have a slogan years ago, Israel is real. And for us, that's true. We can't think of a better example that proves that God is active, powerful, and that He keeps His word. And He asks us to put Him to the test. Psalm 34 says, "Oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good." But that only works if you give yourself 100%. And that's why there's so many miserable Christadelphians. Because we do tend to hold back. We do tend to get distracted by life. And we forget to give ourselves to God and taste and see that He is good. Secondly, for baptism, it isn't just about you. It's not just you and God. There's a communal nature to this whole business. For Josh, you could have been baptised at home in your bathtub by your neighbour, although in Thornley that might have been a Muslim and he might have held you down too long. But you chose not to do that. You came here with all these people here who love you. And we're all part of it. Sorry, I'm having an ascot moment. From your mum and dad to your sisters, to Auntie Doreen and Uncle Jim, I'm sure in spirit, to your aunts, your friends, your brothers and sisters. Yes, baptism is between you and God, but it's also, when you come out of this water, there's a new relationship with God and His family. From Adam to now, from Birmingham to Brisbane, from Uganda to USA, from Latvia to Launceston, from Sri Lanka to Stirling. You have a collective responsibility, both of you, to that wider body. Your primary responsibility is, of course, to your home ecclesia. But you now have brothers and sisters throughout Perth, all over the world, and throughout all time. And we know that in Hebrews 12, they're all standing up there cheering you on. Excuse me, I got a bit right. Sometimes we hear people say, and I've been guilty of it, Christadelphians, what a weird bunch, or people who leave say, they had no love. And we shouldn't say that, because we are the people we are criticising. You are now one of us, so you can't say those sort of things. There's a collective responsibility, but it's not a burden. It's a whole new wonderful life. It's an opportunity for encouragement, for blessing and for reinforcement. It tells you God is active as a father with us all. So it's you and God and others working together to build each other. And quite often, we've seen a lot of it lately, kids get baptised and then they drift away. And they often say, they didn't fit in or they didn't belong. It's very sad to see. But getting baptised is not joining a club. It's not joining a Christadelphian club and just attending. It's a family. And that's why God invented marriage, and that's why God invented families, and that's why God invented ecclesias. It's not our idea. He came up with it because He needs to test and develop our understanding and love of Him in that context. And just a cautionary note, while you are in your ecclesias rubbing up against brothers and sisters who are human beings, remember human nature. Don't be put off by it. After all, you know what's in man because both of you have left it here in the tub. You've crucified it and left it there. So my message to you is get involved. Be a helper. Be a leader. In a world of apathy and affluence and pleasure, you two need to be clear and bold because you are the next generation. And your generation has some challenges. Someone was telling me just a few days ago, they remembered when your dad, Josh, came in from outside, and they said it was quite remarkable. He valued the truth so much he was able to turn his back on his former life. But increasingly we see young folks today throughout the world who we see less and less of that demarcation and that separation. So what's the answer? Do we run off and become hermits or become very ascetic? No. What we do is we let God permeate our whole being so that the truth, with all its holiness and its love and its joy and its peace, radiates in our life in everything we think and say and do. And if this wasn't serious for either of you, you wouldn't have come here tonight and enacted a symbol of death to your old life, to yourself, to the world, and coming out of that, resurrection to new life, alive unto God. And I would say to both of you, your time is now. Christadelphians, we're not just different because we have different doctrines. We stand out because we really believe that God is active and involved in our world and in our lives, and that He has a time frame. He's going to do things with this world.